Welcome to our Modi Briefing Show. I'm your host Yang Zhen. We have some thrilling updates for you. First up, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is on the brink of a historic third-term victory. Exit polls suggest that Modi's Hindu Nationalist Party, the BJP, is set to win a majority of seats in parliament, potentially securing a two-thirds majority. Investors are excited, anticipating continued economic growth and pro-business reforms, but critics are wary of potential constitutional changes. The final results will be announced on May 23. Next, the mammoth nationwide election in India has wrapped up, and the country is eagerly awaiting the results. Modi's BJP is seeking a supermajority in the lower house of parliament, which would give it an unstoppable mandate to further its Hindu nationalist agenda. Critics argue that Modi's decade-long rule has increased religious polarization and marginalization of Muslims, raising concerns about the future of India's secular and democratic traditions. Lastly, in Canada, the recent arrest of a man, Deep Singh in Brampton, has spotlighted the dangers faced by Sikh activists. Singh was charged in connection with the murder of Hardeep Singh Nijjar, a Sikh Canadian activist. This arrest has intensified calls for a public inquiry into India's operations in Canada, as activists continue to face threats. Please stay tuned for more detailed coverage. Australian Broadcasting Corporation. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is poised for a historic third consecutive term as the votes of the world's largest election are counted. Exit polls predict a significant victory for Modi and his Hindu nationalist Bharatiya Janata Party BJP, despite a campaign marred by accusations of religious bias and threats to various population segments. Investors are optimistic, anticipating continued economic growth and pro-business reforms under Modi's leadership. Nearly 1 billion people were eligible to vote in this seven-phase election, with a voter turnout of over 60%. Modi, who first came to power in 2014, has campaigned on his record of economic growth, welfare policies, and national pride. However, after a low turnout in the initial phase, he shifted his campaign to accuse the opposition, particularly the Congress Party, of favoring India's Muslim population, a move that analysts believe was aimed at energizing his Hindu nationalist base. The opposition, led by the Congress Party, denies these accusations and warns that another Modi term could threaten India's constitution and affirmative action policies. CNN India is set to declare its new leader after a massive nationwide election, with Prime Minister Narendra Modi's BJP seeking a supermajority in the lower house of parliament. This election is seen as a referendum on Modi's decade of leadership, marked by economic growth and a shift towards Hindu nationalism. Despite the country's booming economy, issues like poverty and youth unemployment persist, and critics argue that Modi's tenure has led to increased religious polarization. Nearly 1 billion Indians were eligible to vote, and the election has drawn global attention due to India's strategic position and economic influence. Modi aims for a 400-seat supermajority to further his agenda, including job creation and anti-poverty programs. However, his campaign has been criticized for divisive rhetoric, particularly against Muslims. The opposition, led by Rahul Gandhi's Congress Party, has faced numerous challenges but remains hopeful, promising to uphold democratic institutions and reduce inequality. South China Morning Post. Narendra Modi appears set for a historic third term as India's Prime Minister, with exit polls indicating a decisive victory for his BJP. Despite economic challenges, Modi's popularity remains strong, overshadowing issues like unemployment and inflation. Analysts suggest that Modi's appeal has outweighed other concerns, and his leadership is seen as crucial for India's growth. If successful, Modi will equal Jawaharlal Nehru's three-term record. The BJP's influence has expanded beyond its traditional strongholds, making significant gains in southern and eastern India. This election could mark the BJP's emergence as a nation-wide party and a strong endorsement of its Hindu nationalist agenda. Modi's potential third term raises concerns about India's secular and democratic traditions, with critics warning of increased polarization. However, investors and businesses are optimistic about continued economic growth and reforms under Modi's leadership, with ambitious goals for India's development by 2040. CBC reports that a man, Deep Singh, one of the men charged in connection with the murder of Sikh activist Hardeep Singh Nijjar, was arrested in Brampton, Ontario, just a day before a significant Sikh wedding. Nijjar, a prominent supporter of the Khalistani movement, was killed in June 2023, and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has indicated credible evidence pointing to Indian government involvement. The wedding, attended by many who believe their lives are threatened by the Indian government, including those who received duty to warn letters from the RCMP, was notably missing Gurpreet Singh Tanan, a key figure in the Khalisthani campaign. Due to security concerns, the arrests, which included Singh and 4 others, were made following strategic traffic stops by Peel Regional Police, with Singh facing additional charges of first-degree murder in Nijar's case. The Globe and Mail highlights the surge in investment towards stocks poised to benefit from the second phase of AI development. Goldman Sachs analysts have identified companies involved in AI infrastructure, such as RM Holdings, Broadcom, and Intel, which have outperformed the SP 500 significantly. Hedge funds have notably increased their stakes in these companies, anticipating substantial growth as the AI sector evolves. Despite the optimism, there is also caution about a potential future AI bubble. Dividend investors are also advised to consider dividend stocks and ETFs as interest rates may decline, with specific stocks like Avenue Royalties Income Fund being highlighted for their potential amidst changing market dynamics. Yahoo US covers John Oliver's critique of Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Last Week Tonight, focusing on Modi's push towards Hindu nationalism and the growing censorship in India. Oliver acknowledged Modi's popularity due to economic growth and infrastructure projects, but pointed out the widening wealth gap and the redefinition of poverty metrics. He also highlighted a crackdown on critics and the ownership of media by Modi-aligned billionaires. Oliver's episode, which also addressed the anti-Muslim sentiment in India, is likely to face censorship in the country. He humorously challenged Modi's reach, suggesting that critical international perspectives on Modi should no longer be met with uncritical fawning praise. Guardian John Oliver, in his recent episode of Last Week Tonight, delved into the colossal Indian election, the largest and longest in the world. With over 1 billion eligible voters, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, a 2-term leader, is anticipated to secure a 3rd term despite allegations of voter suppression and election irregularities by his party, the Bharatiya Janata Party BJP. Oliver highlighted Modi's strategic silence on his pro-Hindu, pseudo-authoritarian vision for India, which has shifted towards overt anti-Muslim rhetoric this election season. Modi's administration has been accused of undermining democratic institutions, suppressing political opposition, and restricting press freedom, despite his international acclaim for infrastructure and economic growth. Oliver criticized the unequal distribution of wealth and the troubling rise in anti-Muslim violence under Modi's rule. Oliver emphasized the need for the international community to critically assess Modi's leadership rather than offering unreserved praise. Yahoo US exit polls indicate that Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his BJP are poised for a historic 3rd term, with the BJP predicted to secure a majority in the legislature. The opposition coalition, INDI, is expected to fall short of the necessary seats to form a government, citing internal disunity as a contributing factor. The Indian stock market responded positively to the anticipated Modi victory, reflecting investor confidence in the continuity and clarity of economic policies under his administration. Modi's increasing popularity and his party's gains in traditionally non-BJP regions underscore his political strength. If successful, Modi will be the first Indian Prime Minister to win 3 consecutive terms, a testament to his enduring appeal and political acumen. The Independent, the tragic death of Muhammad Saad, a deputy imam killed by a Hindu mob in Gurgaon, underscores the escalating persecution of Muslims in India under Narendra Modi's government. Sectarian violence, once confined to rural areas, has now reached urban centers, highlighting the mainstreaming of religious intolerance. Modi's tenure has seen a surge in hate speech, attacks on religious minorities, and discriminatory policies such as bulldozer justice and the Citizenship Amendment Act, which targets Muslims. The BJP's alignment with Hindu nationalist groups has further marginalized Muslims, leading to increased fear and discrimination. As India approaches another election, many Muslims fear that a 3rd term for Modi could exacerbate these issues, cementing a climate of hate and intolerance. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 60O team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 60O Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned hustlers, and accomplished scientists, the 60O team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 60O Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 60brief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 60O Brief via email.